Nintendo Game Talk.
Welcome everyone to Nintendo Game Talk. My name is Koloko and today I'm going to Ghost 1.0 for the Nintendo Switch. In my last video, I was complaining a lot, like I always do, about how I was getting burnt out on 15 to 20 hour long Metroidvanias on the Switch. So what did I do right after I finished it? Start a 15 to 20 hour long Metroidvania on the Switch, of course. Ghost 1.0. Maybe I missed it, but I heard no buzz about this game whatsoever when I saw it released on the eShop a while back. And as much as I love Metroidvanias and indies in general, I have made a few mistakes in buying games on the Switch eShop just because they look cool, only to have them be total busts and complete wastes of money. Pair this with the constant onslaught of great games that are well spoken of, and Ghost 1.0 never stood a chance of me at full price. However, a couple of weeks ago, saw it on sale, decided to go for it, and surprisingly, this game might just be the most unique and underrated Metroidvania on the Switch. As you can see, Ghost 1.0 has a pixel art look, and for the most part, it pulls it off. The characters and enemies look good, although I will admit they seem a little bit small, similar looking to the character on Axiom Verge. I do wish that they would have made them bigger, or at least give us the option to zoom in, as the few instances where there were a lot of enemies on screen, it can get a bit confusing picking Ghost out of the crowd. The cutscenes are a different story. They are really well detailed, animated, and they remind me of something that I would see on Adult Swim. Ghost 1.0 has you playing the role of Ghost, a robot controlled by a girl who is recruited by a duo made up of a computer hacker and a scientific engineer of sorts to infiltrate a privately owned space station so that they can steal its secrets. The story is probably the best thing that I loved about this game. There's a lot of really good voice acting and cutscenes. The dialogue is smart and can be surprisingly thought-provoking as well as quite funny at times. Ghost 1.0 has the best story that I've seen on a Metroidvania. That's not exactly saying a whole lot. Metroidvanias are not exactly known for having storytelling being their strong suit, and that's not to say that it's brilliant either, but it keeps you engaged until the very end. You want to keep going because you want to know what's going to happen next. Ghost 1.0 has solid twin-stick shooter controls that make the action fun and frantic. You'll explore a giant ship while experiencing some unique mechanics that I enjoyed immensely. Ghost can leave her body and take over enemy robot bodies to solve puzzles and even fight other robots, hence the game's name, Ghost. This action is smooth and very seamless. Granted, you won't be using it for general shootouts, mostly for certain areas, as it leaves Ghost host's body vulnerable while you're inside another robot. If you were to die, you are transported to the nearest save room where you can re-enter another Ghost body by using a 3D printer. Pretty clever. You can also fast travel through these rooms, which makes getting around a lot easier. Enemies are spread throughout the map just like you would expect them to be, but there are sections where if you walk through them, you'll trigger alarms that lock you into the room where you have to fight wave after wave of enemies until the hacker dude can turn the alarms off, usually only lasting 2 to 3 minutes. It's also worth to note that after you trigger the alarms the first time, they become optional, or you can just run through the area if you have to rethread through it. These might seem like a hassle, but the way the game's economy system works, you'll be looking for these alarms and find them welcoming for the majority of the game, as they offer a lot of cubes. You'll use these in upgrade rooms that are hidden throughout the ship, and you will need a lot of them. Use cubes to buy primary weapons, secondary weapons like shotguns and laser beams, upgrades that allow you to move faster throughout the levels and help with platforming and fights, and consumable items that have various uses. Overall, this game has an excellent variety of items to find and unlock. Something I kept running into that made this a bit frustrating is that if you die, you will lose all your cubes. Yes, that's right, all of them. So I found myself trying to save up to buy a certain weapon only to die and have to start all over again. There are upgrades that you can get that help with this, but it only lessens the amount taken out, and only by a small margin. It's also less of an issue later on because of how fast you can get cubes, so it's not that big of a deal. You can also get upgrades by unlocking certain secrets in various rooms. Sometimes it's reaching a ledge, sometimes it's defeating enemies without dying, You'll know you unlocked it when you hear a certain sound and see a bunch of little lights appear around the room. Collect these soul lights and grab a power-up, or sometimes extra cubes. I found unlocking these especially satisfying and a very nice touch on top of the upgrades that you can buy. You also have a skill tree that powers up your ghost suit, your ghost AI form, the hacker, the engineer, and the ship itself. As someone who enjoys toying with different upgrades, this game does not disappoint. The soundtrack is excellent, with music that takes obvious inspirations from Castlevania games. There's not a whole lot of variance in the music, and the songs can get a little bit repetitive, but the tracks that are in here are of good quality and they're really catchy. I just wish that there was more of them. As I said before, the voice acting is of crisp quality and sounds great, and there's a lot of it for a game of this type. The sound effects are decent, with a lot of satisfying sounds that remind me of games like Mega Man, a game I'm sure they took a lot of inspiration from as well. Ghost 1.0 takes the Metroidvania formula, infuses it with some very awesome and unique ideas, adds in a really good story, some cool puzzles, and ties it all up with thoughtful implementations that developers made to make the experience better. The sound options are great, especially for a game this small. A lot of larger games don't give you the options that this does. The Game Plus mode lets you play the game again with all the upgrades, and I'm assuming it lets you keep adding to the skill tree as well. If you're into Metroidvanias, don't let this one get away from you. I'm giving Ghost 1.0 an 8 out of 10. The good: a Metroidvania with unique ideas, good story, and upgrades galore. The bad: music can get a bit repetitive, and losing cubes can be incredibly frustrating. And the ugly:
that guy's on!
Thank you so much for watching this review. If you like this video, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, and stick around for more Nintendo Game Talk. Later.
Get the hell out of here or I'll start to break bones!